Yes.
But like the comparison, like with me and some other guys.
So that'd be something neat to see. The Harris Centers at
The Pirates playing in Williams.
Welcome to episode 61 of the Non-Letter Sports Podcast, the home of sports talk for everyone. I'm David.
I'm Jason.
Welcome aboard. Now, this episode, we actually seem to kind of go for an easy week here because this actually branches off from last episode on what we talked about with who we want. If we got a jersey of not our favorite team, who would we get on it?
Yeah, that started with that started with what? Me saying because you were talking about the Penguins Winter Classic jersey and how much you liked it.
I think that's where it started, and then it just kind of just blew up.
We
from
almost
there.
got into this topic that night, and then we said,
yes, we did.
Table
We
it,
almost
and
did.
we were talking about this episode. I said, let's just do this because it's fresh on our minds.
Yeah, it is fresh on our minds because if we don't, we'll forget about it, and we actually have some.
Well, hold on. Before we get into this, do we even want to get into it at this point? Because we've already segued into the topic. Is it worth even getting into this right now?
Getting into what? I'm just saying that we have a lot of people, different people who we would want to get on our list. But to start off, I kind of like the looks of the new All-Star jerseys coming out.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, no, I was going to bring it up before we get into that.
Okay.
But I do like the new All-Star jerseys coming out because they actually give a good throwback to the 94 design.
Yeah. And credit goes to Uniwatch for the article this morning or this afternoon that I found and added to our document.
Yeah, because I think the All-Star game is normally the week before Super Bowl.
It is February 4th this year, so it would be right after our episode posts because I've been posting them on Saturdays now.
Is that Anchor or you actually doing it?
Well, I mean, Anchor, I upload it to Anchor and they put it everywhere, but I post it to Anchor, so.
Yeah, I just didn't know because I know sometimes it shows that it's pending.
Oh, sometimes I schedule
scheduled.
it and then it shows up at a different time than I schedule it for. That's always fun, yeah. No, that's me. I've done that, I think, Saturday, the last two episodes. So, but back to the jerseys, because that's what we're talking about. I love how Paul from Uniwatch called them Miami Vice style colors, which cracked me up.
Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
No, they are, but it was just a good way to word it.
It is. It is a good way to word it because of. I mean, the Western jersey it's a white top with black and pink stripes, and what is that, like a blue turquoise? I mean, I'm not
teal.
Teal, is that okay? Yeah, I'd go with teal. Yeah, I'm not good with colors. I'm not. Red is red, blue is blue.
Sorry, I was grabbing my iced tea to refill my glass with. Let's see, what color does it have? According to NHL's official diagram design that's in the article, electric blues and pinks, inspired by the vibrant sunsets and glowing neon of South Beach in Florida.
Well, it makes sense with Miami Vice.
Yeah.
Being Florida, it kind of fits.
You know who else I could see wearing these other than Miami Vice? The Golden Girls.
God, my wife watches that show all the time.
We watch it. Great show.
Yeah, I barely watch TV mostly. And the Western
half gallon's
jersey
going to be gone by the end of this episode.
The what?
That half gallon's going to be gone by the end of this episode.
Yeah, the Western jersey, it's a white top, or the Eastern jersey. We already discussed the Western. Eastern it's black with the turquoise, pink, and white.
Yeah.
So basically, the complete opposite of the Western. But I kind of like that. They kind of do a throwback, but keep in with, I guess, the Miami Vice being Florida look.
I mean, this goes back to what I said last episode and what I've said to a few people since the last episode. The NHL does the alternate jersey better than any other sport. These are a retro reverse of the 90s All-Star Game jerseys, which were already cool looking jerseys at the time. Color scheme may be questionable with the purple and the teal, but it is what it is. It was the 90s. But the NHL and Adidas, they knock it out the park with these retro reverses. And I wish Nike could figure it out the same way Adidas did, because Nike's all over the place with their City Connects and their statements, and they have all these different alternate jerseys. And unlike Adidas, to me, Nike's come across as a cash grab. Adidas and the NHL, they come across as authentic, as invested in the fan base and the history of the teams. And that's why they're so good.
Well, the NHL always has the teams that could come up with, even if it's all-star games, just come out with different types of jerseys. Like, the third jerseys, as we watched hockey when it came back to... Well, there were
some stumbles with the third jerseys when they first
Some stumbles, yes, but some were actually really good that I would really like. Like the Coyotes one that had the desert with the coyote head, but with the desert on the bottom. That I would get.
Well, like what I'm getting at is, and my issue's more with what I've seen with MLB from Nike than it is with the NBA from Nike, but the NBA's Nike uniforms are the biggest offenders of this. I go back a few episodes ago with their City Edition jerseys and Charlotte.
What's wrong with Charlotte?
How did that pass? How did anyone from Nike or Charlotte thought that was a good idea for anyone outside of Charlotte to see? And then I look at this year's reverse retros from the NHL and Adidas, and you have a Kansas City Scouts reference jersey and you have a Colorado Rockies reference jersey. That's freaking cool. We can't get that with anyone with Nike because Nike doesn't have the freaking insight to do that. If Nike did NHL jerseys, they'd be god awful because MLB City Connects are not the greatest thing ever, and their NBA City Connects and all their other alternate jerseys that they do are terrible.
Well, Nike did an NHL jersey already.
Did they do alternate ones?
I don't think they did alternate ones, but I know they did NHL jerseys because I have one, and we'll get into that when we move on to the next topic. Because I have a Flyers one, I'll just say it now. I have a Flyers one of the Flyers third jersey where pretty much it's the black jersey where it was a John Van Viesbroek.
Okay, so the explanation for that is prior to 2000, teams were able to individually negotiate the makers of their jerseys.
I mean, either way, and
then from 2000 on, it became one company. So then that was Coho, and then it was CCM, and then Reebok, and where we are now.
God, Coho.
So your Nike Flyers jersey would have been accurate for probably when you got it.
Yeah, it was.
But
now bringing up these All-Star jerseys, being these are the the mid '90s jerseys, to kind of give a throwback to them. We all have. I have to say this: one of the best All-Stars throughout that, the best All-Star moment throughout that time, would be the Owen Nolan point and shoot. He called a shot and got it.
Well, anytime someone pulls that off, in any sport, it's impressive.
Well, look at hockey. that's impressive on its own.
Right. But anytime someone calls their shot and they make it is impressive.
Yeah.
No matter if it be, a guy at the 3-point line or Babe Ruth doing it when he could play baseball and be effective. It's a whole other topic for another episode. Shout out to Brad from Baseball Together. He knows what I'm talking about.
That's why I'm laughing.
But it's impressive when someone does it and they succeed.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's looked upon as being very cocky and very arrogant.
But when they make it, I think it's more, it makes it more fun in an all-star game, because if you miss it, whatever, it's an all-star game.
Yeah.
But still.
Except when you have Jeremy Roenick on the mic and then he's going to make fun of you the rest of the game.
Dude, he's awesome with that.
But let's get into the jerseys, the players who we would buy a jersey from
that are not our team.
Yeah. So why don't you lead off?
All right. I have for the Anaheim Ducks, Paul Kariya.
Would there be anyone else?
There could be Timo Solani. There could be John Sebastian Jaguar. But to me, Paul Kariya stands out the most, because he's a short guy with speed, and he was a great player. So I would have to go with the Anaheim Ducks, Paul Kariya.
Okay.
Despite he played for other teams, but to me, that just stands out to me that he's a Duck.
Yeah. So going into mine, I got to preface this. There's guys who I look at and I'm like, they're absolutely the person from this team. I can't deny I have to get this one. And then there's some people who it's like, you know what? I've liked watching this player play, even if they weren't a Phil. I would get their jersey over maybe the obvious choice. So that's why when you said Paul Kariya, I'm like, is there anyone else? Because to me, he is the Mighty Ducks. He was the Mighty Ducks. That was the guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So since we're going alphabetical order, the Arizona Diamondbacks, I would get a Randy Johnson jersey. I can't think. I mean,
again,
there could be an argument for a couple other players, but to me, Randy Johnson's the most logical one. And ironically, he bounced around from a bunch of different teams, but I think when I think of the Diamondbacks, I think Randy Johnson.
There are a lot of teams that as soon as you hear the team, you think of that one initial player. And Randy Johnson is that player. You think Diamondbacks, you think Randy Johnson.
Yeah, now I will preface this before we continue. I do have one player twice.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes that's, depending on how they do with the other teams. Yeah, of course.
Now, go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, now before we go any further, when this posts on Facebook or even on the other platforms of even listening to this, tell us who you would do on it if you got a jersey from a team that was not your favorite.
Don't tell us who you would do. We don't want to know that.
Tell us who you would get. Let me rephrase
whose jersey you would buy.
There you go. We'll go with what Jason said. We'll go with what he said. There you go. Tell us who you would buy if it was a team that was not a team that was not your favorite. Even on Facebook, tell us who it was. It's gonna be one of those nights. It's gonna be one of those nights. Oh man. I have for the Coyotes now. At this point, it's Phoenix because I'm going back that far. They were Phoenix at the time. I have two for this one because I was torn between them. Jeremy Roenick, our loving favorite player, who is always outspoken, and I love just to hear him make fun of players, especially.
We should shoot our shot and try to get him on here.
Dude, that would be absolutely phenomenal if that would be the case. Because he's a guy that's just outspoken, not afraid to speak what's on his mind. But as a player, I loved him as a player. Great guy. And I was torn between him and Tony Amani.
Okay.
I was torn between the two because Tony Amani wore number 11, which is the number I wore while I was playing. And I liked his style of play. So I was
torn on your jersey right now.
Exactly. Seeing 11 always has something to do with my life of that number. Because kids were born in 2011.
Yeah.
My hockey number's 11. And there's other things that involve 11 throughout my years, but
just follows you around.
Exactly. So I was torn between those two.
All right. So I went. My next one's the Atlanta Braves, and this is one of two that it pained me to pick. But when it came down to it, I couldn't think of anyone better that I've personally watched playing. I'm sure there's going to be someone who listens and they're going to be like, well, why didn't you pick Hank Aaron or why didn't you do this? And it's more because I actually watched this guy play and it killed me to watch him go against the Phils. But I would have to get a Chipper Jones Braves jersey.
And for me, it's when you think of Braves, a lot of times you think Chipper Jones right off the bat. Because he's,
yeah,
it's just one of those, like you have for the Diamondbacks, for Randy Johnson, he's just one of those types of guys that you just immediately hear a team and boom, first player you think of.
And that's what a lot of mine are the first player you would think of. Again, I have some personal favorites, but to me, Chipper was undeniable. If I got to buy a jersey that's a Braves one, it's probably going to be a Chipper Jones one because he makes the most sense in my book.
Yeah, and a lot of the and like you just said, the first ones that come to your mind, that's what and that's the same with mine as well. But because that's the fun of this. Who would be the one that you would get and first one that popped in your mind for that team?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, Chipper Jones just kind of fits that profile because you hear Braves, you think Chipper Jones right off the bat.
Yeah.
Despite the Braves have a long history, it's still Chipper Jones because that's what we grew up with.
And that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, that's what we grew up with. That's the big thing. Mine for the Bruins, Ray Bork.
I have to
huh?
You already have it.
Yeah, I know that. I know I already have it, but that's the first thing that would pop into mind because he's he's always been a Bruin his whole career up until he went to Colorado for his last year and a half to 2 years.
And Dave's jersey has the fight straps too.
It is an authentic jersey.
You were so hyped about that. I remember.
Yes, I was. I actually got that in Toronto when me and my brother went to the Hockey Hall of Fame, and it was actually at a decent price for an authentic jersey. I was shocked at the price because normally they run about what, $200, $250 just for an authentic blank. And this was a blank one. And I actually went to a local sports shop and got the name put on. I actually bought a Stanley Cup patch for when the Bruins and Ray Bork were in the finals and got that put on as well.
It's a beautiful jersey.
And I was very happy with that. But yeah, I think Bruins, I could have picked other names, but Ray Bork comes to mind. As hell, he was in Hershey last week.
Yes, I heard.
Yeah, because his son got his number retired as a Hershey Bear. Yeah, who's your next?
Oh, the Baltimore Orioles? I'm not a fan of the guy. Let me phrase this. I'm not a fan of the guy as a player. And there's a lot of people locally who he's God for Orioles baseball. To me, if I was building a team, and I had to pick between this person and Derek Jeter, I would take Derek Jeter because Derek Jeter was a team first guy. This guy was a personal records guy. But I think you ask anyone, who do you know from the Baltimore Orioles, or do you know a player who was with the Baltimore Orioles? You're going to say Cal Ripken Jr. I just think he's a selfish player. But who else are you going to say from the O's?
Well, who else do you think of when you think of the O's, especially in our era? Of that time, let's say.
I mean, I can't think of anyone off that 96 team other than Cal. But again, I just think he was a selfish player. I mean, that's great. You got the Iron Man and you know, you played the most games in a row and blah, blah, blah. But playing hurt and not getting the rest when you need it hurts your team in the long run. And that's why I would, like I said, I would go for a team first guy before I would go for a personal accomplishments guy.
No, I agree with that 100%.
I'm waiting for the pitchforks and torches to come after me now.
We've been talking about Baltimore management for how long? I mean, you think
yeah,
that would
but
happen
Baltimore
already?
management is different than Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken is like...
Well, you've been saying about Cal Ripken, though, for how long? Like the Ripken effect?
Oh, we never did get that shirt made. That needs to be a collab. That was supposed to be a collab with Baseball Together. I got to get on Brad about that.
I mean, hell, I would have figured it would have happened by now. That's just my thought.
Well, I'm going to send him a message right now.
Yeah, go for it while you're thinking of it. Because you know yourself, if you wait, you'll forget. And I'll forget too, so I'll do it quick. Why not? Oh, that was funny, though. I forget what episode that was.
Confused. I think it was the first time they were on.
I think so, too.
Well, you're on next, so what's up?
I got for the Buffalo Sabres. I was torn with this one, but I went with Dominic Hasek because I like goalies, and I could have went with Michael Pekka, who was the captain of the Sabres. I went with Dominic Hasek.
Ooh, here's a good question for this one.
Uh-oh. I'm kind of scared now.
Which which Sabres jersey?
God, you really have to throw that at me?
I did, yes.
I mean, I'd kind of have to go with the era he was in, but I do like the old school one where it was what years were it? Like the old school eras from like 70 to 96. I'd have to say. But for his era, it was the 96 to 2000 era. It would have to be for that one.
Okay.
Being that he was in the finals in 99, I would probably go with that type of jersey that he wore in the finals. Just to get a jersey for him.
No, understandable.
I mean, I could go back. Yeah, there it is. Dude, I love his profile pic on Google. It's hilarious. Looks like he's all like serious and all. It's pretty funny. I mean, I could go either way. I could go with the old school Bruins, prior to 96 2000 era. I could definitely go with that one. But if I'd go with his jersey, I'd try to get one that he wore in the finals and get the patch done, the whole 9 yards.
Right, that makes sense. I just was curious because that is a team that has had a lot of stumbles.
Yes.
From the 90s to a few years ago.
Yes, but no, I would go with the style of him in the finals just so I can get with the Stanley Cup patch and the whole 9 yards with it.
Gotcha.
You're up.
Okay, Boston Red Sox. I would get Wade Boggs. Another no-brainer. I know there's a bunch of different Red Sox I could have picked. I could have went with Big Papi. I could have went with Jesus, anyone from that 04 run, but I don't know. Just always when I think of the Sox, I personally think of Wade Boggs. Wade Boggs was a heck of a baseball player. I mean, he played for other teams, but he would be my pick to have a Red Sox jersey.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a long time though, too. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Wade Boggs.
So I don't know if you watch Good Mythical Morning with Rhett and Link on YouTube, but every now and then they'll do a taste test of old snack foods and determine if it should come back or not.
Oh, jeez.
And Wade Boggs had a
Mr. Green.
What?
Mr. Green.
Wade Boggs had a regional released candy bar back when he was with the Red Sox, and they tried it. 30-some-year-old chocolate bar, and every time they try an old candy bar after that, there's a Boggsian scale.
Oh, jeez.
To the point where Wade Boggs sent in a video yelling at them about it. So
that's funny.
He's clearly a guy that has a good sense of humor, and that makes him a lot extra likable. So
that's funny.
Had to share that one. All right, you're up.
Calgary Flames. I was kind of, again, another torn one, but I would go with, for the Calgary Flames, Jarome Iginla.
Solid pick.
I'd have to say Jarome Iginla because I was thinking Theo Fleury. I was thinking him, but I'd have to go with the captain of the Flames, Jarome Iginla.
The cover athlete of NHL 2003.
And I would actually have, if I got the jersey, I would get the jersey from the Stanley Cup run in 04 when they lost to the Tampa Bay Lightnings.
Okay.
So I'd have to go with that type of jersey. I just like to get, just to make it as close, like if they're in the finals, I like to make it look like it was in the finals.
Right.
Pretty much like I did with my Bruins jersey with Borg. So that's my Calgary Flames pick.
All right, Chicago Cubs. Again, this guy's a Hall of Famer. Another no-brainer. Ryan Sandberg, even though he was a crap manager for the Phils, he was a heck of a second baseman. I know Denise from the Cubs Baseball Together podcast is going to give me crap for this probably. But to me, I think he's the best person, as far as I'm concerned, to have. If I'm going to have a Cubs jersey, it's going to be from him.
Yeah, why not? I mean, even though, like you said, not a very good manager, but yeah, whatever works, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, he's a Hall of Famer. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah, exactly. When was he inducted? 05 is when he was inducted. Oh, come on, screen. Yay, technology. All right, here we go. My screen came back. Carolina Hurricanes. I went with Rod Brind'Amour.
Okay.
Because he was captain at the time when they won the Stanley Cup. I always loved him as a Flyer, when he was there. As a coach, I think he's fantastic for Carolina. He's one of those hard-nosed players. I also could have went with Justin Williams because he was a Flyer and also played for Carolina and won a cup with them. So, again, Flyer players kind of associate with that, but I went with Rod Brind'Amour.
That makes sense.
And who is your White Sox pick?
So I'm not gonna lie. Before we get into this, I really considered doing Bo Jackson, even though his best baseball playing was in Kansas City. I just wanted an excuse to talk about Bo Jackson, who I believe is the greatest athlete we've ever seen in our lifetimes. And God, had he not gotten that freak hip injury, who knows what we would have seen him do. Because he was just a crazy natural athlete. But I went with Frank Thomas.
Naturally.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys who when you hear his name, you think Chicago White Sox or Nugenics, apparently. Isn't that the thing he hawks on TV for low testosterone and middle-aged men?
Something like that.
But I think he's one of those guys who was a big name when we were kids, and he clearly lived up to his reputation in Chicago enough that they retired his number. So he's one of those guys with that team that I think is absolutely a no-brainer to pick for a White Sox jersey if I was to get one.
Well, a lot of times you hear Chicago White Sox again. Frank Thompson is one of those names that just pop into your head. You know, it's just
fun fact. He was in Mr. Baseball.
Was he?
Yes. He is the rookie that you see briefly in the beginning of the movie that Tom Selleck's character gets sent to Japan for.
Must have missed that one. I think it's been how long since I've seen the movie too.
Yeah, I'm one of the only people that it's mandatory watching. So,
well, it's like Major League when you pick out different things.
Lots of things.
Yeah, right.
You're up.
Sticking with Chicago, for the Blackhawks, I picked this one straight out, Tony Amati. Because he's with the Hawks. I'm not the
only one with two people. That's good.
No, you're not the only one. I mean, I could have picked Jeremy Roenick too, because he also played for Chicago as well. But I went with Tony Amati on this one, just because he played with Chicago the longest, I believe, and if I remember right. I just, like I said before, I just like the style. You know, he played for several different teams, but I like him at Chicago.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah,
where am I at? I am at Cincinnati.
At
so this was actually a tough one because there was a part of me that was going to list Pete Rose.
I thought you would have.
Well, just because I want him in the Hall of Fame because he's the hits leader doesn't mean I actually like him, because he's kind of an asshole. I mean, when you're making jokes about John Kruk not having two testicles, you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah, true.
Especially when it's 30 years later, you're kind of an asshole. So I went with Joey Votto, who's a fantastic baseball player, and it is an absolute shame he's spent his career in Cincinnati because they've done a whole lot of nothing, especially in the last few years. So I mean, his God-given talent's been kind of wasted, but I think he's the guy for the Reds in the last 20 years. So he's a no-brainer to me as why I would get his jersey.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Now, I'm going to say no-brainer a lot, so if you want to turn this into a drinking game, strap yourselves in.
You might not remember anything. Get interesting. Oh, that'd be a fun episode to do. A drinking game episode.
Oh, no, we can't do that. We'd have to do that in your basement, and I will have to have Jamie come and pick me up. That's what it would be like. Or I'm just going to wake up on your futon the next morning and...
Either way.
Hope for the best. You're
up. For the Colorado Avalanche, I had two on this one because I just, again, torn between them. Joe Sakic or Peter Forsberg. One of the two. Because they, both played for Colorado the longest. I mean, Joe Sakic was there from the beginning and still there. So, I mean, I like both play styles. So I'd go with one of the two, either Joe Sakic or Peter Forsberg.
Okay, so we've referenced this story on the show a few times. When you hit our old buddy in the testicles, when you accidentally went 5-hole on him in the goal.
Who was that?
Do you remember what you said to him to get him to laugh as he was laying on the ground coughing up a testicle?
No, I cannot say I do.
I got you right in the sack.
I don't remember that, but that's funny.
I haven't thought about that specific part until you said Joe Sakic, and like a little flutter of memory came back, and I'm like, oh shit.
Don't you love that, where like little things just kind of just pop into your head, like from years ago, where you don't remember it ever until you hear that little key word. Yeah, that was funny.
Because then that became a saying. Got him right in the sack.
I do remember that part. Where it became a saying, but I don't remember saying it after it happened. You're up.
Yeah, I know. Oh, so for Cleveland, I'm going with Jake Taylor. He is a fantastic catcher. No, I'm going with Jim Thome. See, a regular person would go with Wild Thing if they were going to make a major league reference, but I'm a Jake Taylor guy. So,
oh man,
I went go with Jim Thome.
I was like, wait a minute, wait. I was like, wait a minute, what? Honestly, though, you would probably get a Jake Taylor Cleveland Indians jersey.
I've shopped for them. So
exactly, you would.
I've priced them out.
Exactly, you would.
He's my favorite character in the movie, so yeah, it makes sense. No, I went with Jim Thome. He was a former Philly. He I think he bookended his career in Cleveland and Philadelphia, actually. He was a fantastic player in Cleveland, did his job in Philadelphia, just an all-around good guy. He was, to me, the right guy to pick for the Guardians. I could have went with like an Albert Bell, or I could have even went with a Jason Grimsley, which is a deep cut for a lot of people. But to me, Thome was the guy.
Well, he spent 91 to 02 in Cleveland, 03 to 05 in Philly, and 12 in Philly and Baltimore. So yeah, no, that would definitely make sense because, like I said, he spent the longest in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Where are we at here? Columbus Blue Jackets, Rick Nash.
Can't think of anyone better.
It's just one of those players that I feel he was there a good long career for them. And that's the first name that just comes to mind when I think of Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you said his name, I'm like, oh yeah, that was the guy. That was the guy for Columbus for a while.
I mean, he spent 9 years in Columbus. He was them. He was Columbus. He started off there.
Was he another NHL cover athlete for EA?
I want to say yes.
I want to say yes too.
Now I got to look this up. Thanks.
For some reason, I can see him on a game cover, and I want to say it was.
Yeah.
2K.
2K9. He was on 2K9. So I'm actually looking at the cover right now.
I wasn't far off though. I knew he was on a cover.
I couldn't remember what cover, but I could picture him on an EA cover for some reason. I thought he was, but it was the 2K9. But now Rick Nash, because he was first overall in Columbus in the 02 draft, so he was there since the beginning of Columbus.
In 1492, he sailed the ocean blue. That Rick Nash did. You'd think I was the one that had a few in me, not you, but.
Few what, Jason? What are you talking about?
Well, we're adults.
Are we?
All right. So I'm
adults?
up next.
Are we adults?
We're going back to the Rocky Mountains. So for the Colorado Rockies, I'm going with a player who I actually enjoyed watching, and I enjoyed watching lose to the Phils. So it's twofold. I'm going with Troy Tulowitzki.
I would have butchered that name.
Which is funny.
What, that I would have butchered it?
Yes. Because of your last name.
Yeah. But at least my last name is, yeah. Yeah, no. Either way, I probably would have, but I would have been like Tull something.
Tulowitzki. No, I actually did enjoy watching him play when he was a Rocky. So for me, because I did like watching him play, he would be the guy I'd get a jersey for.
Makes sense. I mean, you enjoy the player, sort of like some of my picks you enjoy watching. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
For the Dallas Stars, I picked Mike Modano.
And you would get the Mooterus jersey.
I would actually not only probably get it in with a Stars jersey, but I would do the North Stars jersey.
Oh, you would do I see. Now that's very cool.
I would do the North Stars jersey. That I would do. I mean, not only because it was one of those players I was torn, one of those teams I was torn with, because I could have went with Darian Hatcher, I could have went with Brett Hull, I could have went with Eddie Belfour. I could have went with those. But
now I have a question for you. Did he wear the classic North Stars jersey, or did he wear the jersey that became the Dallas Stars jersey?
He was a North Star.
No, I know he was a North Star, but so before the North Stars left from 91 and 93, they were the same jersey that the Dallas Stars did. They didn't have the N with the star on at the peak of the N. And the green and the white, they had the black and the white. So that's why I'm asking, did he actually wear a true North Stars jersey, or did he wear a Stars jersey? Because there is a slight difference.
There's a difference. Because the North Stars, when they went to the Stars jersey, it was the 91 to 93, but he was drafted in 88.
Okay,
and
so
88,
he could have
it's
conceivably wore
absolutely, because the North Star jersey, the actual N with the star above the N, was basically that logo from 67 to 91.
It's a fantastic looking jersey.
So he would have worn that type of jersey, which I would get.
Okay.
So I would not only get the Dallas Stars jersey that he wore when they won the Cup, but I would also get the old school North Stars jersey with his name on it.
Very cool.
That one I would get. I would probably go with the North Stars jersey over the Dallas Stars jersey if I had the choice.
Makes sense.
Just because it's the old school jersey.
And his number is retired from the Stars. So.
Yep. You're up.
All right. Yeah, I guess I am up, aren't I? Where did I leave off at? I was at Colorado. Okay, the Tigers.
Right. This is going to get interesting to remember where we left off, going back and forth.
This one was actually tough for me because there's a lot of historical guys who I could have went with for the Tigers. But I think there's a guy who really epitomizes that team in the modern era, and that's Miguel Cabrera, and he's one of the greatest players of all time. So for me, he was my pick for the Tigers. And there's a player a few teams down who I almost picked as well for the Tigers, but I saved him for a different team. So Miggy was my pick for the Tigers.
There you go. Hey, it works.
Yeah. And since we're in Detroit, let's go over to you.
So for the Red Wings, this was another one I was torn with, but I went with Steve Yzerman.
Nice.
I could have went with Gordie Howe. I could have went with him. But I chose Yzerman. I could have went with Nicholas Lindstrom. Because he was a defenseman for the Wings for so long. But go with the captain for the longest time.
Right.
I want to say Yzerman is my pick. Because he spent his career in Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he spent his career in Detroit and, a great player, great captain. He basically has 4 Stanley Cups, 3 as a player, 1 as an executive. So, yeah.
Makes perfect sense, my friend.
Yzerman's one of those players.
All right, guess we're traveling to Houston. So this is the first appearance of this player, and it's more because I'm not an Astros guy. So for me, I went with Nolan Ryan. He's the only player on my list who appears twice, and he was just that damn good. So that's the only explanation I got.
He was,
and he didn't have to bang on a trash can to be good. So
no, he didn't. No, he did not. No, I agree. Nolan Ryan was a great player.
Had a heck of a headlock and a punch too. Ask Robin Ventura.
Oh, jeez.
Well, you are up, and we are going to the Great White North.
Yeah, we're going to the other end of, way, way, way up north from Texas to the Edmonton Oilers. This one I have 3 down for because I'm torn between these 3 because of what with the Edmonton Oilers. I had Mark Messier, Wayne Gretzky, and Grant Fuhr. I get one of those 3 on an Edmonton jersey.
Okay, let me pose this to you. And this might help you pick which one specifically you would get. If you were a GM and you had to build a team and you could only pick one of them, who would it be and why?
Now, my question to you is what era? Is this the modern era or their era? Because that's 2 different things, because you got to look at the modern era, which there's no enforcers, to where you have their era where there had to be enforcers.
Well, I mean, I didn't talk eras when I picked prime Jeter over prime Cal Ripken. I just picked them based on what they brought to the table.
Yeah, but I mean, then again, I would pick Grant Fuhr.
There you go.
Because
it's that easy. It's that easy.
The reason why I picked that is because of that type of era where Gretzky. Okay, people are like, well, why didn't you pick Gretzky? Why didn't you pick him? Well, because he needed those enforcers. Because Ice Guardians even said it. In that era, if you pick on the best player, enforcers were sent after you.
I'm not comparing the 2, but I mean, we had this discussion very early on in the show that Gretzky's career would be very similar to Sidney Crosby's career if he played nowadays, because Crosby has no one to protect him on the ice.
No, he doesn't.
And a lot of his concussions came from cheap shots. I know you're not a Crosby fan, but you're a hockey fan, and you know enough to know that if he had enforcers, his career would be trajectorily different.
And I know the one concussion that Crosby had, people may say it's a cheap shot. Now, people may say, well, you hate Crosby, so you're not going to say it's a cheap shot, but I don't see it as a cheap shot. I see it as a taller player turning, because this would happen in the Winter Classic to where I forget who the player was. It was for the Capitals. He turned and Crosby just happened to be there, and shoulder height, there it was. And Crosby went out for so many months on a concussion. Now, you don't want to see a good player. Like Jason said, I'm not a Crosby fan by any means, but I don't want to see a good player be put out for any type of reason. I don't want to see a career ended short because of said injury. I don't want to see that. But you're right. His career would be, Crosby's career would be different if there was enforcers. It would be.
And the same would go for Gretzky. If he didn't have enforcers, his career would probably be more like Crosby's.
And Ovechkin would have the goal record by now, probably, because because Gretzky would be injured because of not having the enforcers to back him up.
Right.
But as a goalie, your job's just to stop a puck. And I'm partial to goalies because I was one. So I'd go Grant Fuhr.
Hey, that works for me.
So
guess I'm on deck, ain't I?
Let's go to Kansas.
To me, when I think of the Royals, I think of one player. I think of George Brett. Dare I say the only player equal to Mike Schmidt when Schmidt was at his peak. They both met in the 1980 World Series. He's probably more well known to casual fans for the Pine Tar incident, or when a hot mic recorded him talking about crapping his pants while drunk in Las Vegas. That's always a great soundbite. They've played it on the People's Morning Show a few times.
It happens to the best of us,
But George Brett, all-around good guy, all-around great player. I think, he's the guy from the Royals. To this day, the guy from the Royals. Yeah, but I think there's also people who are not from Philadelphia, who are not Phillies fans, who could be from Kansas City, and they're going to be like, well, Mike Schmidt's he's the guy from the Phils. So I understand that my opinion is based not on where my geographical location is, but on what I know about the team and what I've seen. So,
well, yeah, that's what we go off of because of what we lived and what the eras we lived through to watch the players we've watched. I mean, I've never watched Gretzky play in Edmonton, but he is Mr. Edmonton. That's where he started his career. He won 4 cups there. But that's why I would choose that, if I had to go that direction. I never watched Grant Fuhr in Edmonton, but I would get those types of jerseys because the type of legendary players they are, just like your decisions with this, that's why you picked it.
Right.
Because of what you've seen, what you've done, and also what you know.